Oh, no. No. No.
Good evening, crypto. The price of Bitcoin is currently $65,839. Very good. The price of Bitcoin is starting to move to the upside. We need to check in on where that CME gap is currently sitting because we need to make that CME gap trade. I mean, I'm already in a trade. You can see it right here. The CME gap is higher than the current price of Bitcoin. More importantly than that, there are two incredibly important charts that nobody is talking about right now. We're going to discuss both of them at the start of today's video. So if you're interested in what's to come, slap a like on this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's very, very important that you do that because not enough people subscribe to channels these days. You just watch videos and leave. It means a lot to me. Please help this channel grow. We have something like 20,000 subscribers on here. So let's get the channel growing. Slap a like, subscribe, and let's crack on and turn a profit here. I'm currently in a Bitcoin long position. It's quite a heavy Bitcoin long position in terms of the leverage here. This is the trade that I opened on stream earlier. And if you were following me on that stream, you'll see it on the main channel. The main channel is called That Martini Guy. If you didn't watch the stream, you could catch up on it, but it's basically 2.5 hours of me staring at a screen and somebody crashed my car while we were on stream and did about £25,000 worth of damage. So that happened as well. It's a race car and we were watching the race on the stream and then that happened. Anyway, we don't need to get into that. I've got to make £25,000 to pay for that damage. So, talking of making £25,000, this is the incredibly important chart that nobody is talking about right now. We discovered it on stream earlier, and it shows something that nobody has been paying attention to now for years. You can see here, this is March 2023 down to April 2024. This is Bitfinex taking profit on its long positions. It was closing its long positions, taking profit as Bitcoin had pumped up from $14,000 up to $60,000. Bitfinex is starting to buy Bitcoin back. Why is that significant? Because Bitfinex is the largest organization in crypto that nobody knows about. Now, if you're new to crypto, let me explain a little bit. Bitfinex is very heavily related to Tether through an organization called iFinex. iFinex invented Bitfinex. Bitfinex invented Tether. The two organizations split, but Bitfinex has complete control over Tether. The thing here is Tether's valuation is currently $120 billion. Tether has been growing at a rate of at least $1 billion per week now on average throughout the course of this year. The amount of money in crypto keeps increasing. People are using Tether because Tether is pegged to dollars. What is significant about this is $119 billion is the size of the organization here, and 68,000 Bitcoin long position is the size of Bitfinex's long position right now. If we compare that with Bitfinex's short position, just to prove that nobody uses Bitfinex, there is 408 Bitcoin worth of short positions on Bitfinex. 408 compared to 68,000 Bitcoin long positions on Bitfinex. We can actually check on how much money that is. If we go here and we go down here, we can type in 68,500 Bitcoin. How much is that worth? This abhorrently large amount of money, I think that's about $51 billion. So they've got it. That can't be right. Oof. Maybe it's $5.1 billion. Either way, you can tell me in the comment section below. In fact, speaking of comments, do leave a comment. Do appreciate it. If you've ever got any questions or you ever want me to cover any altcoins in these videos, because I'm quite happy to chart any altcoins that you suggest me, leave them in the comment section below and I'll let you know if one of your favorite altcoins or one of your bigger holdings is going to go up or down. From my perspective right now, though, the odds are definitely stacked in your favour, and I'm very much expecting prices to rise. If not in the immediate short term, definitely over the longer short term, at least over the span of the next month. Anyway, that's chart one. We know that Bitfinex is starting to acquire large amounts of Bitcoin. The other or two more important charts actually. First of all will be the CME gap. CME gap currently sitting at $66,140. If you look on CME's website and give that page a refresh, has the exchange now opened? The time in Dubai is 1:12 a.m. It looks like the exchange is opening right now, which would mean that in the not too distant future, you would expect this chart to start moving at some point. So anyway, the CME cap is $66,140 with the current price of Bitcoin currently not sitting anywhere near that. I mean, it's not that far away, but it's $65,832. As you can see from my very crude drawings here, there is an inverse head and shoulders pattern starting to play on the price of Bitcoin, but that's not the very important chart. The very important chart is this. This is a chart that I drew not 1 year ago, not 2 years ago, not 3 years ago, and not 4 years ago. I drew this chart about 5 years ago. I even put the green circles on it about 5 years ago. And I put bull market begins, bull market ends, bull market begins, bull market ends, and bull market begins and bull market ends. You can see here the bull market has begun. When this chart starts going down, this chart is the value of $1 against $1. It is the value of the buying power of $1. So when the value of the buying power of $1 starts dropping, we go into what's called a risk-on scenario. Now, in a risk-on scenario, you want to hold risk-on assets. Those are Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, all that kind of thing. You want to hold anything that stores value better than cash. Because the problem with cash is if you've got 8% inflation and you're getting 4% interest in a bank account, you're losing 4% a year. However, if you can outperform that by going into a risk-on asset that performs at 20% a year, then you're beating inflation by 12%. Happy days, you're a winner. You don't get poorer over time. The way that everyone is able to keep people in wage slave type jobs is by basically not increasing your wage at the same rate as inflation, therefore forcing you to continue working and never actually feeling like you're progressing or going anywhere in life. And it's very sad, is that kind of situation. Anyway, this chart here shows the value of $1 against itself, and as you can see, it has been dropping. That's very good news for us. Very exciting, and honestly, if this continues, it's going to be fantastic. Now, for the past 3 months now, this has been dropping. Not only that, but we can probably expect the drops to continue. What we're starting to see in China dropped interest rates by 0.5%. That's fine. That sort of the USA. Nothing special. But what China did at the same time is they started changing the rate, because China's got interest rates and loan rates from their central bank. And what China did, let me switch to full screen for this section because it's an exciting explainer. China switched their interest rates for loans. Now, those loans that they switched them to, so you can now go to the Chinese government if you're a Chinese citizen, and you can borrow money off the Chinese government at a rate of 2% per year. So if inflation is 8% and you can borrow at 2% and interest is 4%, then in theory, you could borrow from the government, put it into some low-yielding investment, which would then pay you more than the interest on the debt, thus contributing to the economy. So what the Chinese government is trying to do here is they're trying to stimulate their economy by reducing the cost of borrowing. When they reduce the cost of borrowing, they basically encourage people to spend money. When they encourage people to spend money, that will probably drive inflation. And this is where you're getting into an interesting scenario, which we've never actually had in any economy ever. You've got a scenario where you should, in theory, be driving prices higher of everything. So inflation should start going up again, in theory. But then they're dropping interest rates, which would... It's just like everything is going like this and smashing into each other. Either way, we're in a scenario where they're dropping interest rates, they're making the price of borrowing so much cheaper, encouraging stock people to do stock buybacks by buying back their own stocks. So if you can imagine, you can go right now to the Chinese government, borrow money at 2%. When you borrow that money at 2%, you can buy your own stock. If there isn't enough of that stock for sale, you could pump the price of your own stock 10%. Therefore, on paper, meaning that you've profited 8% on the money that you've loaned, and then all you need to do is create some other demand, which is then caused by this other... It's very Ponzi schemey. Like when I start explaining, like, so Ponzi schemey. Either way, that's what economies are. Economies are giant Ponzi schemes. The US dollar, it's a Ponzi scheme. Why is it a Ponzi scheme? Well, because if we all stopped using dollars and started using, I don't know, pieces of paper, which dollars are, but they just didn't have any writing on them, but we just said, okay, this value is the same here, then the dollar would go to zero. And that's why Bitcoin is worth something. Bitcoin works in the exact same way. And that's why Bitcoin has value, because people say it has value and people believe in it. And also it's a transferable store of value. If I've got dollars in Dubai and you've got dollars in the USA, we can't exchange dollars. That's impossible. But we can exchange Bitcoin, which makes Bitcoin infinitely more useful in a continually conflicting world. Anyway, those are the two more interesting charts. Both of them are very bullish on the slightly longer term time frames. I do want to point that out because we probably will experience some short-term volatility. So in terms of short-term volatility, what can we expect on the price of Bitcoin? Well, let's drop down here onto the 5-minute chart. You can see Bitcoin is doing this thing again where it makes nice steady uptrend. Now earlier, when it made a fake stab at the CME gap that couldn't close anyway because the market was still open, you can see that the price rallied, things were looking up. Bitcoin's price right now is cheap. It's $65,882, and it looks like we've tested the bottom. We look like we're going to come back up to the top. Now, if you look on a longer term time frame to get a bit of a longer term perspective here, let me delete all of my nonsense here. That's it's not nonsense. It's the inverse head and shoulders pattern. But if I just delete the inverse head and shoulders pattern off here, this, by the way, is the neckline that we should break through. I was explaining in the previous recording of this video, before I recorded this video, because this is the second attempt. The first one, I started being very expletives. Anyway, $70,000 is acting like a magnet right now for the price of Bitcoin, and that's quite exciting. I expect in the next week or so, we're probably going to come to $70,000. Bitcoin being around $4,000 away right now, that would mean if you opened up a 100 Bitcoin long position, you would make a $400,000 profit if Bitcoin's price rose to $70,000. I think the attractiveness of $70,000, the fact that it feels like it's written in the stars at this point in time, I just feel like it's going to happen. But then I've been a bit of a curse to things. Sometimes it does feel like that. And so speaking of me being a curse to things, Jesus, what happened? It was just on the cusp of going all the way back. Right, we're back. The camera died. Anyway, camera's back on now, and this is DOP. This is DOP on the daily chart. Ignore everything that I said before this about DOP. Don't ignore it. But look at this. Just look at the chart. How does it go lower? I will eventually become DOP with the amount of DOP that I'm buying. I will own DOP. I will own more voting rights on DOP than anyone else. And I really like, and I'm actually increasingly passionate. I am one of the biggest cynics in crypto, being that I've invested in over 600 different applications and all these other things. I would say out of that 600, 50 of them have done well and 550 of them have failed. That makes you the ultimate cynic. I'm a multimillionaire based off of investing in failed projects. It's a crazy situation to be in, but then some of them don't fail, some of them go on to be amazing. You've got your Matics, your SWISSBORGs, your Ethereums, your Elrons, all these things, these do pretty well. And then you've got a bunch of others that don't do well. I think that DOP stands a good chance of being a Matic or a SWISSBORG, and I think that it's still suffering with all of this sell-off that's coming from the fact that it had this long pre-sale. But that pre-sale, they're not going to be selling any more tokens. That's it. The supply is capped to where it's at. It's just diluting. And the market cap's suffering because of this dilution. But being that the market's recovering quite significantly, it won't go down forever. And a coin like this will undo all of its gains in one day. You won't remember Encash. Some of you will remember Encash. In fact, if you remember Encash, do you remember the 800% day? One of the best days of that thing is one of the things that gave me the passion to pursue crypto as a career. I put $10,000 in a coin called Encash in about 2017. This is where I made the bulk of my bull market profits in 2017. I was not rich back then. And I put $10,000 in this coin. I was like, you know what? I believe in Encash. They were like, well, you know what we're doing? We've got Jimmy and Johnny's shoe shops in India that are kids' shoe shops, and we're going to put these sensors in the shop, and you're going to be able to pay with these coins, and or whatever technology nonsense that they came up with at the time. Anyway, they got listed on Binance, and then they got listed on Upbit while they were on Binance, and the price of it went up 800%. 800% in a day. That was an insane day, and I think that DOP will do the same thing. I think that we will have that stage in the market. I think that DOP will get listed on Binance. I think that they didn't list on Binance because they raised too much money too close to the date of launch, so they never listed on Binance. They listed everywhere apart from Binance, and being that its market cap is so small at this point, it will recover. I'm quite optimistic about that. Now, other coins, anyway, Vanry, still very low in price. And talk of the town today, FTT. The FTT is the token of FTX. There is a lot of speculation right now that FTX is going to relaunch very soon. If that's the case, FTT will do big things. It's currently up 53% today. I think it's probably more of a short position than it is of a long position right now. I don't have a position on it because you can't trade it on BYBIT and you can't trade it on PHEMEX, so I don't have a position on it. But if you can trade it. I wouldn't be longing it. I'm not too optimistic about it. The key thing would be the distributions for the $16 billion worth of money coming from the FTX settlement. But the lawyers, by the way, are taking like $10 billion, and then they're distributing 6 to the holders. If you held $1 million on FTX during the bankruptcy, they will give you $250,000. That's the way that this settlement will work. One of my friends has received a letter from the FTX bankruptcy thing, and they told him that he would be receiving his funds very soon. He's quite excited about it because it's $1.6 million that he'll be getting from the settlement. It's an interesting situation that we're in right now with this, but when that money drops, the market's going to skyrocket anyway. It's an interesting week ahead. Hopefully this CME gap closes. Let's give it a refresh now. It's been about half an hour. Still nothing on this website. They're not telling us whether the exchange is open or closed. They're not even telling us where the gap is. But we know where the gap is because we're not stupid, and it's there. It's $66,140. So keep your eyes on that. Pay attention to crypto. Slap a like on this video if you have enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, also slap a like on it. Tell me how much of an amazing person I am in the comment section to just increase my mental health a little bit. And have a fantastic and very profitable week ahead. I'm going to be with you on the channel every single day, so make sure you subscribe with the notifications on. We might even be doing double uploads and streams and everything like that because I have nothing else to do this next week apart from trade. My goal this next week is to make $1 million in a week, starting with about $400,000. It should be possible. It should be easy. So let's catch some big ones and let's win some things. So have a great day. See you in the next video. Goodbye.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.